here Jean-Paul Sartre Jean-Paul Sartre was a French philosopher. Actually, he was born on the 21st of June 1905 and he died on the 15th April of 1980. He's a French philosopher, playwright, novelist, political activist and literary critic. He had different roles, but here one time he was nominated and he was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature, but he didn't receive because he did not comply with the system that Foucault said that Sartre did not want to comply with this system because this system is not that all the artists and all the writers, they go after politicians and they are that because you are accepting an award, accepting a gift given by the system means that you will be part of that system, that you approve that system. Okay, that's because Jean-Paul Sartre turned down Nobel Prize awarded to him. Right? He was one of the key figures in philosophy of existentialism and phenomenology. I will explain what is existentialism, particularly phenomenology is another bigger area in philosophy, particularly Edmund Husserl is a mathematician who invented this notion. Existentialism was highly influenced by phenomenology, and this is Jean-Paul Sartre. Right. That existentialism became popular in the years following World War II. Right? Because with World War II, people in the world had some questions about their existence. They had some moral dilemma on their existence. Because before the World War II, the European societies, the Western societies believed on some ideals. Even before that, the first philosopher who questioned drastically about the ideals was Friedrich Nietzsche. Particularly these ideas like there is a God and he has some benevolence. With World War II, with the cruelty of World War II, with the violence meted out in the World War II, people started to think about meaning of life. What is the meaning of God? If God is benevolent, then why people are facing this brand of fate? Then people started to think about their own existence, and existentialism, the philosophical tradition, came into existence particularly after the World War II. But before that, the notion, the philosophical idea was there, particularly the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard was one of major pillars in existentialism. He had some basic ideas on existentialism. But it was popular. It was made popularized by Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, particularly. Albert Camus, Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, and Martin Heidegger, more or less. Sartre posits the idea that what all existentialists have in common is the fundamental doctrine that existence precedes essence. Right? This is very, very unique term, very, very unique phrase for existentialism. Existence precedes essence. You can understand to some extent about this through some Buddhist teaching, like Nachacha vasalo hoti, nachacha hoti Brahman. No one would be a Brahmin or Vasala, the outcast guy, or the noble one. No one won't be a noble one or an outcast individual in the world, in this world, by their birth. Same meaning is here. Existence precedes essence. That means, before existentialism, people believed that you have some essence. You have some essence. That being a Brahmin is an essence. You are a Brahmin. Being a monk, Buddhist monk or Christian monk, or being a monk, being a priest, you believe that you have some essence. Being a carpenter, you have an essence, because that was the dominant belief in the Western tradition from Plato and Aristotle, that the objects in this world have their own essence. I am a teacher, then my essence is that I have some essence because I am a teacher. Teacher has some essence. Clerk has some essence. But that means they have some model. For example, that like if something is like for instance, this could be a pen. That can only be pen if it has ink inside it. Then there is some essence here. There could be knife. Without a blade to cut something, that won't be a knife, because the blade would be the essence of knife. Knife would be, won't be a knife without a blade. Without ink, this would be a pen, because it has some essence. But throughout the Western philosophy, they thought essence is there. Humans have their own essence. I mean, before the existentialists, before the Sartre, the belief was that we have some essence inherent. We have some built-in essence that was created, particularly by a God. We have some essence created by a god or something like that. We have an essence. Stuffs in this world have an essence. But Sartre said that your essence would be determined by your existence, the way you engage with the world. That means you are a free person. You are a free person. You are practically free, not absolutely free. You are a free person to choose that if I continue to steal, I will be a thief. If I continue to teach, I will be a teacher. If I continue to play cricket, I will be a cricketer. Then my essence, that I becoming a cricketer, would be decided by not by something else, something outside, but by my practice. Doing your engineering, you will be an engineer. If you stop it and doing law, then you will be a lawyer. Then your essence will be decided by what you do, what you choose. What is that your choice makes, that your choice decides your essence. Not, you do not have prior model of essence. Okay, you do not have a created model. Okay, then existentialists started to say existence precedes essence. That means your practical engage with the world creates your essence. How you practically engage with the world means that your essence is that. Not you do not have a prior created essence. Like you won't be a Brahmin by essence. As the Lord Buddha says, you will be a Brahmin by your practice. If you do right thing, if you speak right words, if you do right actions, then you will be a Brahmin. Otherwise, you will be a Vasala. Right? Then your essence is practical thing. That practically, or that your engagement with the world decides your essence. Okay? While the dominant value of existentialist thought is commonly acknowledged to be freedom, its primary virtue is authenticity. Then existentialists started to preach that idea, that freedom. They explicated, they preached, they wanted to emphasize that we are free beings. We have freedom. We should not be bound by some essence, that we can choose our things. We can choose our own destiny. We are free. They said we should be authentic. We should be authentic. We should live our life authentically. We should lead our life authentically. We should decide our own destiny. We should make choices. We should not lead unauthentic life. Authenticity, real us, true us. We have to dig out what is trueness inside our life, inside our hearts. they denounced a fake life. They denounced a fake life. Then this kind of the cruelty of the World War II, this created, because before World War II we had many ideals about humanity, about some transcendence, about some gods. We had ideals. But with the World War II, we saw how humans were acting. You see this picture. The cruelty in the World War II, how people killed themselves. Then our ideals became questionable. Then existentialists said that no need to be bound by ideals. No need to be bound by fake virtues. Existentialists wanted to revert this, and they started to say that no, we should choose our thing and we should be authentic. We should keep away from those fake ideals. Because in Nazi Germany, Hitler led the society through ideals. Through ideals. That the Nazis, that the Nazi party said Aryan people are the best, or Aryan people are the ideal people in this world. We should create superhumans through our nation. He used that Übermensch, that word Übermensch in German language. We need to create a Superman. That was the ideal behind the Nazi party in Germany. Then the ideals or virtues became meaningless after the World War II. What are these ideals? If these ideals are there, if there is a God, if there is virtues, if there are some benevolence, why are we coming across this kind of fate? Why humans become that cruel? Then ideals would not serve, ideal would serve for cruelty. Finally, existentialist meaning is that ideals serve for cruelty. Then we should keep away from those ideals and we should decide our own life. The proposition that existence precedes essence reverses traditional philosophical view that the essence, the nature of a thing is more fundamental than its existence. Then, nature of thing, that means that being a monk, being a priest, being a teacher, like their essence is not that fundamental, their practices, their existence, their way of engaging with the world is the primary and fundamental thing. To existentialists, human beings, through their consciousness, create their own values and determine a meaning for their life. According to existentialists, human beings, through their consciousness, we have our consciousness, right? And create our own values and determine a meaning for their life. We determine our life, meaning of our life, because the human being does not possess any inherent identity or value. Because we do not have any inherent identity according to existentialists. existentialists. We won't be Aryans. We won't be some other identity. That identity and values are created by our engagement, our existence. Right? That, for example, that people go and kill some people in very recently in Minuangoda, that Sinhala Buddhist people went and killed 2-3 Muslims in Minuangoda. Because we thought our identity, our values are in danger. We thought we had some ideal value, we had some ideal identity. We thought that identity, that Sinhalese identity, come from Singha Sivani, Singha Bhav to us. We thought like that. Then we thought we need to preserve that identity, that our essence. We thought we have some essence, we have some identity, we have some values. These are Sinhala Buddhist values. Then we should preserve these Sinhala Buddhist values. And that led to violence. Okay. We went there and we killed Muslims. At the same time, Muslims believe that we have an identity which need to wear burqa or niqab. We come from Muhammad Nabi Sal, and we should preserve our identity. We need that niqab, and we should keep aloof from the Sinhalese society, and we should create our own thing. Again, this is the same. That because the Muslims thought that they had their own essence. They had their own essence, and they have their own identity and values. Finally, this notion would lead to violence and disaster. According to existentialists, there is no Muslim identity. That they are trying to create some identity through niqab and all, but it is that essence is rejected in existentialism. Right? You can choose your own destiny, not through your Islamic identity or Islamic essence. It is pointless thing to preserve your essence. Right? You should be you. You are not a model. You have not been born into this world as a Muslim. Because you do certain things and then you will become a Muslim. You do certain things, then you will become a Buddhist. That resorting to that certain ideals and trying to preserve these ideals would create some rift. Okay? Being and nothingness is the magnum opus of Sartre. He titled it Being and Nothingness, an essay on phenomenological ontology. It's a 1943 book by Sartre, and while he himself was imprisoned in between 1940 and 1941. While a prisoner of war in 1940 and 1941, Sartre read Martin Heidegger's Being and Time, which uses the method of Husserlian phenomenology as a lens for examining ontology. Ontology means the way the world has been constructed. Right? In Cartesian worldview, that means Descartes. Right? Descartes had mind and body duality. Descartes taught that I think, therefore I am. Descartes wanted to say that the world is something created with objects. Right? There are objects and there are structures in these objects, and we deal with these objects. Right? The dualism plays in Cartesian way of seeing the world. But in phenomenology, that thing was rejected. Particularly, Sartre borrowed for existentialism that our consciousness is the key thing. Right? That what we experience, right? That means that you do not have kind of objects. That means that objects should be decided with your consciousness. Right? You encounter certain thing, particularly in Heideggerian sense. Heidegger introduced a term called Dasein in German language, that you encounter things and you give meaning to them. Right? I give some meaning to this laptop, that you give a different meaning. That your encounter, your engagement with this laptop, this object is different from another person's encounter. Right? Phenomenology is a study of structures of consciousness as experienced from the first person I-V point of view. That I or we, that means first person point of view. Okay, phenomenology is that study of structures of consciousness. How I perceive this. That in phenomenology, we study how I perceive this laptop, how I perceive this chair, how I perceive this window. This window is perceived by a carpenter is different from me. Carpenter's perception is different from my perception. Then this is not the same object for carpenter and me. This is a different object for carpenter and this is another object for me. Because our consciousness works differently. Your consciousness and my consciousness are not same. Okay, that's the major theme of phenomenology. Though influenced by Heidegger, Sartre was profoundly skeptical of any measure by which humanity could achieve a kind of personal state of fulfillment comparable to the hypothetical Heideggerian rencounter with being. That being in this world, being. In Heidegger's thing, that Heidegger, that German philosopher, he again wrote a book called Being and Time. Being means how the world exists. That in Heideggerian sense, that Heidegger resort to that there is some super being Heidegger says that Heidegger is introduced a strategy called destruction, that we can divide all of these things, these beings, these existences can be divided into smaller parts. Heidegger thought there is some super being, okay, that if you divided all the stuffs in this world, is there some being or some certain essence? Sartre said there is no essence, but Heidegger, that Sartre and Heidegger's difference is that to Heidegger there is some essence. To Heidegger, that called super being. Heidegger called it super being. That means like maybe God. That God, that particularly that God is in philosophy, particularly in ontology, God is not a man or figure like a grandfather or someone with beard and all. God is some being, some essence, that omnipresent essence, right? That in philosophy, God is some essence, some being. There is some cause that in your life also you would think, why these things happens? Why I come across this kind of thing? Why I met that person? Why I got that chance? Why I got that opportunity? Is that because of some being, some essence, some God? Is there some God? Is there something in this world apart from myself? Right? That question would come in your mind, that in addition to my choices, is there any God? Is there other essence? Is there other being? Is there other realm in this world? Is there something called God? Right? Heidegger, in his Being and Time, finally he resorted that because when you are giving meaning to this world, that some things are unexplainable. Then you said, this could be God. Oh my God, that you say, how did I get this?